All right. Mr. Fawcett, you've called your next witness, Mr. Wilford. If you'll stand and be sworn, sir.
Go ahead and place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Mr. Fawcett.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name.
My name is Charles Williford,
Where do you work, sir?
Professional Recovery Consultants.
Where's the location of that office?
Okay, sorry about that. Professional Recovery Consultants. It's in Durham, North Carolina, RTP.
Fawcett.
Thank you. Mr. Wilford, how long have you worked in Durham at Professional Recovery Consultants?
Trying to do the math. Almost 7 years, about 6.5.
Okay. What exactly do you do for Professional Recovery Consultants?
I collect commercial debts. When one business owes another business money, I try to get them to pay.
And you do that by how?
Over the phone only.
When you make these calls on behalf of your clients, are these phone calls recorded?
Yes, sir, they are recorded.
Okay. And Mr. Wilford, while you're making or shortly after the phone call, do you input or type up some notes about the efforts you make to collect these debts?
Yes, sir, that is required to do.
Your Honor, I'll inform the court by stipulation the state would ask the court to acknowledge State's Exhibit 14, which is a CD of some recordings, and State's Exhibit 15, which is an 8-page business record of Professional Recovery Consultants.
All right. Those Exhibit 14 and 15 have been previously stipulated as to authenticity and admissibility. Mr. Arbor.
That's right, Your Honor. We want these evidence.
All right. Very good. So those are admitted.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Mr. Wilford, let me show you State's Exhibit 15, this 8-page record, and ask you to, on the top here and highlighted, there's an account number.
You want me to describe?
No, it is
Okay.
in fact an account number at the top there.
Yes, sir.
It's highlighted. Is that the mechanism, how you keep up with the various clients and calls you make on each individual client?
Yes, sir. That's how we identify everyone. In essence, it's like DNA does.
Okay. Let me ask you on that 8-page exhibit there to turn to page 6, and there's a highlighted entry. You see that?
I'm trying. Here it is. Yes, sir.
Okay, before we play some phone calls, can you tell us the date and time and the general substance of what we're about to hear?
Basically, Jamie called my office, and she had told me she was going to mail PIF, paid in full, to my office the next day. And so I gave her the details where to mail it to, because my first motive is to get a debit card, because money's good right then, period. I don't have to worry about a bounce check. But she didn't want to do that, or must have been some reason she couldn't, so I told her to mail it.
Okay, and the date of that first call that you have with someone named Jamie, is the date and time is exactly what, please?
The first call was actually on April the 3rd, the day before, and I spoke with the secretary who worked for the business, and she gave her name, and she said she would relay a message to Jamie.
Yes. Let me ask you about the highlighted entry.
Yes, sir.
The first time you speak to someone who identifies themselves as Jamie, that phone conversation occurred, the date and time, please.
April 4th,
Okay?
11:39 a.m.
All right, great. Thank you, sir. Your Honor, this time the state would ask to play that particular call from State's Exhibit 14.
Charles Wolford. May I help you?
Hi, my name is Jamie Hahn, and I am calling. I was receiving a message that you had called about the Brett Miller congressional campaign.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have an account number for that? There was an account number left?
Yes, I've got the reference number.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it's 148
Right.
438
Uh-huh.
01.
01.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. And you work for them?
I do.
Okay. Let me explain to you why I'm trying to reach Brad Miller campaign. I'm Charles Wolford, and I'm with Professional Recovery Consultants.
Uh-huh.
This is concerning a bail that has time on the cable, still past due. It's $591.10. Now, I do have to say, ma'am, that by federal law, I must make you aware it is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Also, the call may be recorded for quality assurance.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So that's why I'm calling, just see how the remainder of that was going to be taken care of.
Okay, anyway, can you tell me the amount again?
$591.10.
Okay.
There was recently a payment reported for $700.51, but when I say it was reported, but it was back in August when it was paid. And once that was done, I think Brad Miller himself, but the campaign said, okay, just pay that, and then we start the service up again. But it never did pay the $591.10.
Okay.
So what I'm trying to ascertain is just that someone knows so we can get it taken care of.
Sure thing. I will get that taken care of this week.
Now, if you'd like to, ma'am, I can do it without any added fees right over the phone.
We only have checks, so I'd have to write a check and put it in the mail, but I can get that taken care of this week. I think.
Can I give you the address?
Yes, that would be perfect.
Yes, ma'am. And go ahead and make the check out time, okay?
Okay.
And then here's where you would mail it to. You would mail it to P as in Polly, R as in Run, C as in Cat, and it stands for Professional Recovery Consultants.
Uh-huh.
And then it's P.O. Box 51187.
Okay.
And that's in Durham.
Okay.
Well, you know what Durham is. You're from North Carolina like me, right?
Sure I am.
You'd be surprised people across the country don't know how to spell it sometimes, so I'll read you where the country you're from. Okay, and my zip, man, is 27717.
Okay.
And you want to put a reference number on that, positive ID, which is 148-43801.
Okay.
All right, and what is your name again for my records? I'm sorry.
My name is Jamie.
Jamie, I appreciate your help. And that, would that be mailed by, say, tomorrow?
Yeah, we'll get it in the mail by tomorrow.
All right, that'll take care of it. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank
Have a nice
you.
day, man.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Mr. Williford, on State's Exhibit 15, if you turn to page 7 of the business records there, and there's another highlighted entry there. Can you tell us the date and time and subject matter of that particular entry?
That was April 15th of year 2013, and Jamie called my office. I've been trying to get a hold of her because the check bounced.
Okay. And what time did she call your office on April 15th?
3:21 p.m.
All right, thank you. Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask to play the second call on the CD of State's Exhibit 14.
Yes, sir.
And they always pass it along to me, so I'm not really sure.
Okay. All right. Well, hold on just one moment now.
Sure. Oh, I gotta get one thing out of here.
Hello?
Mr. Oliver?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jamie Hahn, Brett Miller's campaign.
Yes, ma'am. Can you give me that account number?
148
148
438
438
01.
01. Okay, and let me get this out of the way. It's just part of the law these days, okay? You know, we're professional recovery consultants by federal law. Let's make you aware it is an attempt to collect a debt. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Also, the call may be recorded for quality assurance. We got your check. The problem is it bounced. It bounced.
What?
It bounced. Check number 3971 for $591.10 for Time Warner bill.
Yeah.
It bounced. We received it on, it looks like we received it on April the 8th.
Yeah.
And today, your bank's saying, no good. Nobody in there.
Okay. Well, let me double check on that for you, and I'll be back in. I'm not really sure what's going on with that because it's got plenty in there.
Okay, remember that this is from your bank. It's not us.
Right.
You know, you can, if you want to do a debit, we don't add any fees. But
we don't have a card. We just have the check. So.
Okay, well, just go ahead and do your due diligence and then get on back with me, Jamie, okay?
Okay, can you tell me again that check number? I'm just not around it.
Sure. Hey, hang on a second. Hang on. Check number 3971 for $591.10.
Okay. I will check on that and let you know.
All right, Jimmy, in the future, if I need to call you, what would be the best number to reach you at?
919
919
900
900
7374.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Mr. Williford, if you turn to the last page, page 8 of State's Exhibit 15, the business records, and there's another highlighted entry. Can you give us the date and time and the gist of that particular conversation you had?
Yes, sir. That's April 18th, 2013, 2:09 p.m. I called because when we tried to redeposit that check, it wasn't any good. So they told me Jamie was on vacation, so I told an employee named John of the debt. And to be totally honest with you, there could be some other dialogue that I just don't remember. I probably talk to about 100 people a day minimum, and I don't have a real good memory of it. That's one of the reasons we tape conversations.
Sure, let's play that. That's April 18th at 2:09 p.m. Is this third conversation?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You're on at this time the state would ask to publish the third recording on State's Exhibit 14.
Yes, sir.
Sunday night. May I take a message for her? That presents a problem. Are you with the Brad Miller campaign? Yes, I am. May I help you with something? Sure. Let me go through the formalities as the law requires, and then it'll come to full focus, okay? I'm Charles Wolford. I'm a professional recovery consultant. My client is Time Warner Cable. There's a balance against the Brad Miller campaign for $591.10, and by federal law, I must make you aware this is an attempt to collect the debt. Any information obtained will be used for that purpose. Also, the call may be recorded for quality assurance. She did send a check and cover that. The problem is the check bounced. Oh, wow. Okay, that doesn't sound... All right, I can give you the check number if you want that. That's no problem. She told me she was going to check on it, and I hadn't been able to get back with her. She didn't say anything about vacation, but, you know, I know she got a lot on her mind. But the check number was $39.71 for $591.10. And we found out that on April 15th, check was no good. And that's per the bank. It's not per us. We wished it was good. Last aggravation for us. We actually received the check in this office on April the 8th. It looks like we're going to run it went through today, again the second time, so whoever needs to be told, I would imagine you'll probably want to tell them. All right. Okay. And who am I speaking with? This is John. Okay. All right, John. I certainly appreciate it. Let me give you my contact information. Sure. Go right ahead. All right. This is Mr. Williford. Uh-huh. And my number is 800. Okay. 991. Okay. 52. Okay. 78. Okay. All right. I certainly appreciate it. All right. I will make sure. I hate to hear this. That's the first I've heard of it, but I will see what I need to do. I certainly appreciate it. Like I said, they plan on running it again today, just to let you know. But she had heard from her since Monday. She said she'd get back with me. She'd been pretty good about getting back with me, so I was a little bit surprised. Well, I mean, she had went away on a trip, so I know she probably was trying to get a lot done before she left. So yeah, that's okay. You just let her know. I appreciate it. Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day now. I hope you do too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Say he has no more questions, Sean.
Cross-examination.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Williford.
Good morning, sir.
My name is Joseph Arbor. I'm an attorney. I'm going to ask you some questions about your testimony.
Yes, sir.
And I recognize in asking these questions, correct me if I'm wrong in this, I believe your testimony was that you work for a company that does collections for other companies after their own bill collecting efforts have proved unsuccessful. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir.
And then if they can't get it, they pass it along to a company like yours and say, see if you can get this thing paid, correct?
Essentially, that's it. Yes, sir.
So typically most of the ones you get are in some kind of delinquency with the original debtor, whoever the money's owed to, correct?
That's correct, except myself individually, I do commercial accounts.
Okay. And in this particular instance, we're talking about a Time Warner cable bill, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, which I'm assuming then with your company, Professional Recovery Consultants, must be one of its regular vendors that they work with?
Yes, sir, it is. Now, mine is Time Warner Cable Business Class.
Business,
But
not the household consumer.
not a retail like a person who would not pay their own individual bill. This is like a business that won't pay.
Gotcha. You can tell me, I'm guessing there are a number of other vendors that you perform this service for.
Yes, sir. You would be shocked.
No,
all over the country.
What I mean is, in saying that, I'm not so shocked that you telling me that some people don't pay their bills. I'm talking about the number of companies. Time Warner Cable isn't your only one that you do collection work for.
Oh, no, I do for all kinds of companies.
Sure.
Probably hundreds.
Sure. So that's why in your testimony you were saying it would be very difficult for you to remember from just off the top of your head without some records being produced to you. Conversations you had, who you talked with, what the bill was about. You got to be referenced by, sort of like you did in those conversations. Tell me the account number you're talking about.
Right.
Then you can pull something up on a screen, look at it, and then you can. Right. I think you referred to it as your DNA there, right?
Right. We probably in the office have about 10,000 different accounts, and if you confuse one person's account with another person's account, you can imagine the confusion.
And again, you can correct this if I'm wrong as well, because you're dealing mostly with delinquent accounts. I mean, your job is essentially, I mean, you don't. Unlike Time Warner Cable, they may be interested in dealing with their customer in a different way, like selling them other services and things like that. That's got nothing to do with you. look, you owe money, we just want to get the money paid, correct?
Yes, sir. We do try to solve problems too, because there are problems involved with it. But
That's essentially it.
yes, sir, that is correct.
Right. Because you don't, unless you do, but I don't think you would have an independent recollection of all of these things, particularly this one, unless you pull up that so-called like DNA. Prior to that, just hold on for the rest. Prior to that conversation with the young lady on the phone, Jamie Hahn, on April 4th, did you recall or look at any records that indicated that you had had any previous conversations with her on this particular matter?
I've never, to my knowledge, ever spoken with her before this account, ever.
Okay, so when you were talking with her on April 4th of 2013, to the best of your, and again, understanding that you're relying largely on the records that your company keeps, that was the first time you spoke with the individual on the phone who identified herself as Jamie Hahn.
Yes, sir, it is.
Thank you. And in that conversation that we just listened to, that was the conversation where she indicated she would send a check out, correct?
That is correct.
And then, in fact, a check did go out, correct?
Yes, we received a check
Right.
in the office.
And then the office, your office submitted the check for payment, and it was dishonored by the bank, correct?
That is correct.
Right. So when you were then contacting her on the 15th of April, I believe at 3:20 in the afternoon, if you have your records in front of you, sir?
I'd have to flip a page.
All right. Can I approach the witness,
Yes,
sir?
sir. Yes, sir.
321.
It's off by a minute.
It's all right.
That's,
I know you want me to be precise.
no, that's fine. I just want to make, when we sometimes refer to documents, to you this is a business record. I wanted to see what number to remind myself. State's Exhibit 15.
Yes, sir.
So you're looking at it and it indicates that call 3:21 p.m. April 15th. That's the second conversation we heard between you and the individual on the other end of the line who identified herself as Jamie Hahn, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that's when she indicated to you that the check number 3971 for the amount that we heard on the conversation, $591.10, had essentially bounced, correct?
Yes, sir. And let me qualify something. I don't know how to explain this to you, but I can, generally speaking, or I wouldn't be in the business I'm in, tell when people are lying. And she seemed, just by the tenor of her voice, very, very surprised that the money wasn't there. Some people, they're lying. You can't call them liars, but you know that they are.
Right,
But I could tell she was telling the truth. That was my honest opinion.
okay, because you deal with a lot of people. You
Yeah.
deal with a lot
Yes,
of
sir, I
people on
do.
these phone calls. I mean,
Yes,
you're
sir,
doing
I
it every
do.
day. There was nothing, she wasn't argumentative. Well, we heard it. The jury could
Right.
make their own conclusions with respect to that. But that's the date, 4/15/2013 at 3:21 in the afternoon, correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, the third conversation that you listened to was the phone call and if I can approach again, Your Honor. If I can approach again, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Referring to State's Exhibit 15, which is in evidence. That's conversation that you had with the individual who identified himself by the name of John, correct?
Yes, sir.
That conversation occurred at, you can look at the document, 2:09 p.m., correct?
Yes, sir. April 18th.
April 18th. As you looked at this exhibit, this is a paper copy of something similar to what you would see on your screen at work. Would that be fair?
Yes, sir. It is the same thing, just a printed copy.
And on State's exhibit, and by the way, everything with respect to this particular exhibit is only with respect to this particular account. What it's pulling up on the screen is only the information with respect to this account. We're not seeing any information regarding somebody else's account, correct?
You are correct.
All right. Thank you. Pages. It'd be fair to say you don't retain an independent recollection of any activity, other activity you would have done with attempting to collect this debt on this account beyond what's on the exhibit in front of you, correct? By that I mean, do you recall, and you can answer if you do or you don't, and if I can approach the witness again.
Yes.
When you look at the State's exhibit, I'm sorry,
No, that's okay.
15, and we're on that's the last page you've been provided with. It shows the last entry date on this is April 25th, 2013, correct?
Let me just look at that just to be certain, sir.
Sure.
The entry date is not phone calls. That's just, I consider it gibberish, but it's just telling me as a collector future payments must be certified funds, nothing to do with a call.
Sure.
Okay, maybe I'm misunderstanding the question you're asking me.
The question is this: on that document, it indicates at least some activity on your part trying to collect the account beyond. At least that page doesn't take you beyond April 25th. Is that correct? With respect to this account.
That is correct. There's no phone calls from me this past April 18th.
Do you have any independent recollection as you sit here today whether you made continued efforts to try to get the debt collected beyond April 25th of 2013?
I have no recollection of it.
Would if you were able to look at similar pages of that account beyond that date, would that help refresh your recollection whether you continued to make any efforts just to collect money on the account?
Yes, of course it would.
All right.
And I'm not going to totally rule that out because I have so many accounts. Okay.
I understand.
Yes, sir.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes, sir.
Let me just show you what's marked as Defendant's Exhibit 3. It's marked for identification. If you take a moment and look that over and see if that helps refresh your recollection.
Yep. I do remember that now.
Okay.
I do, vaguely, but,
There's other pages as well.
okay.
correct?
You want me to look at that too? Okay, sure. Yep. I remember Mr. Miller doing that. He sure did. Okay, a second. Okay. Now you realize, of course, not all of this is me. It's other people in
Fine.
our office too.
I understand.
Okay.
Does that help refresh your recollection?
Yes, it
a little
does.
bit
It does.
With respect to the continued attempt to try to collect this debt.
Right. Yes, sir.
In short, the question is this: how long when's the last entry that you could see from that indicated your last attempt at trying to collect this debt that was owed of, what was it,
$591 or something like that. Change.
$591.10.
Yeah. My last one was May 7th, and then if you'll note that WOG is my manager, I made him aware of this, and he canceled the account.
Okay. But basically, at that point, you just sort of let it go.
Yes, sir.
All right. Oh, and you need to look at this, that helps. But in between the time of that State's Exhibit 15, the one that you have in front of you.
Yes, sir.
Where the last entry is April 25th. Until that time of May 7th, 2013, when your manager, I think you said canceled the account.
Yes, sir.
You did make efforts in between those dates to try to get this account resolved. Would that be fair?
I'm not absolutely sure. I'm not.
Well, you made some phone calls.
If I made some phone calls, and that was an attempt. You're right.
Okay, that's it.
May I just say it's
No.
It's not a priority.
Sure.
Okay.
Just answer the
All right.
question. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for being here today and for your questions. Mr. Fawcett may have some questions. I don't know, but I'm done. Thank you, Aaron.
Mr. Foster.
Okay.
There you go. Thank you.
So you may step down. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Do I keep any of this? Or
You will leave that right there on the table there, sir.
All right. Am I free to go?
Let's excuse from the subpoena.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any objection, Mr. Arbor?
No objection.
Sir, you're excused from your subpoena. You're free to go. Thank you.
sir.
Further evidence for the state?
The state would call Angela Cave to the stand.
Please stand, place your left hand on the Bible and raise your right. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Please state your name for the court.
Angela Cave,
And where do you live?
Tilbriar Drive in Raleigh, North Raleigh,
All right. What's the address, please?
6616
6616 Tilbriar.
Tilbriar Drive.
How do you spell Tilbriar?
Tealbriar.
All right. Are you married?
I am.
What is your husband's name?
Kenny.
All right. And what do you do for a living, Ms. Cave?
I work at the State Employees Credit Union.
How long have you held that job?
18 years.
And let's you and I try to do our best to speak up. I think is your microphone on there?
It is.
All right. See if you can get it kind of close to you there.
Move closer to the microphone.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And you've been at the State Employees Credit Union how long?
18 years.
Okay. Were you living at 6616 Tilbriar Drive back April 22nd, 2013?
Yes, sir.
Who were your neighbors at that time and maybe still across the street from you, up on the right on the corner of Tilbriar and Rainbow?
Julie Harrell and Bill Harrell.
All right. Do they still live there?
They do.
All right. Julie and Bill Harrell.
Harrell, I believe.
Okay. On April of 2013, April 22nd, 2013, did you know Jamie and Nation Hahn?
I did not.
Okay. On that Monday, April 22nd, at about 5:19 that afternoon, that Monday afternoon, did you make a 911 call?
I did.
All right. Before getting into the substance of that, if I may approach, Your Honor.
Yes.
Let me show you what's marked as State's Exhibit 16 for identification purposes, and see if would State's Exhibit 16 help you illustrate the events of Monday afternoon to orient you
Yes, sir.
and the jury about where your house is and where some other relevant houses may be in the neighborhood.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, at this time, the state would ask to enter for illustrative purposes State's Exhibit 16 into evidence.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
It's allowed for illustrative purposes.
And at this time, the state would ask that State's Exhibit 16 be published on the screen behind Ms. Cade.
All right. That'll be fine.
Thank you. Let's see if we can get this down. Okay, could you please just point out to the jury what's on State Exhibit 16, specifically where you reside and your neighbors, the Harrells, and if you know the Hans, and what streets that we're looking at, please?
Yes, sir.
Please keep your voice up so that everybody can hear you.
Yes.
And you feel free to stand up if you wish.
This is our home on
Yes.
Thank you.
This is our home. This is Tilbriar, which runs into Tilwood, the same street, just across Rainwater. And the Hans live here. Bill and Julie live here, just across Rainwater. There's a house in between, obviously. And then there's a house in between our home and Rainwater. So this is our home, Bill and Julie's home, and Jamie and Nation Hahn's home.
In Tilwood Place, if you go past the Hans, is it a cul-de-sac right there?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Kay.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please tell us about 5:19 or before 5:19 p.m., but around that time, that Monday afternoon, the events that led you to call 911, just in as much detail as you can remember. Please tell us what you observed and did.
I had come home to take care of some business before I went to get my children, or a child, one of my children, from soccer practice, and was standing outside, and my son was inside. He had come home earlier that day, and I just heard silly noises, I thought, and my husband and I were standing outside about to leave and heard someone yelling help, and I thought it was our son. He was 11 years old. He's a jokester. And I said, Kenny, what is he doing? And he said, that's not Jack's, Angie. So he ran down the driveway, and I saw his urgency, and my husband's not an urgent kind of person, but I ran down the driveway and looked across and saw Nation coming up Tilwood towards us. That's the first thing I saw. And then I saw Jamie up on the corner house, the one beside their house. She was up and beaten on that door. And I didn't know what was going on, but she turned around and it looked as though she was holding something that was bleeding. Maybe a dog. I didn't know what had happened. I mean, we were outside and didn't hear an accident or anything like that. And as she came closer, I realized that she wasn't holding anything. And so it was like shock. Okay, I got to run in and get the phone and make sure my son stays inside. And meanwhile, my husband was on Bill and Julie's lawn calling them over to say, come here, we'll help you. And from that, I had gone inside to grab the phone and told my son to just stay inside, and had dialed 911 and run back outside. And by the time I got outside, Bill and Julie I think Bill had come outside. I was trying to keep his little girls in. I think he was trying to dial 911 at the same time, so I was letting him know that I have it. And at that same time, there's so much going on, but Jamie had come into Bill and Julie's yard and had laid just at the end of Bill and Julie's sidewalk, just in front of their front doorstep. And Nation was there and screaming, and it was just chaos, really. And my husband, I don't remember exactly what all he was doing because there was so much going on, but I was trying to hear what the 911 operator was asking me, but at the same time trying to pay attention to what was going on so I could hopefully help. So I was going back and forth from the end of the sidewalk back up to the street so that I could better hear the operator, and just pretty much let them know what I saw. I told them that I thought maybe she had been shot. I wasn't sure. I didn't know where she had really come from. I just saw that she came from the corner house bleeding. And I was speaking to 911 for probably five or 7 minutes.
All right, you and your husband were outside of your house, second from the corner there.
Mm-hmm.
And you first said, first thing that alerted you heard what type of silly noises?
What I thought was silly noises. It was somebody saying help. I thought Jax was in the house saying help, like maybe he was joking around. And so I just said, Kenny, what is he doing? And he said, that's not Jax, Angie.
Could you discern if the voice that's yelling help was a male or female?
I've tried to think, but I don't remember.
Once you started hearing this, was it more than one help?
Yeah.
Once you started hearing the help and the conversation with your husband about this is not y'all's child, when do you first, do you have to move down your driveway to start looking up the street to start seeing what you ultimately will see between Jamie and Nation Hahn?
Yeah.
Okay. How far down the driveway do you have to go? Can you give us a little bit of the distance? I know this is just a diagram, but if you could just articulate, I'll show you a few pictures maybe later.
Okay. Stand up.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. We were here.
Yes, sir.
We were here, just right where we park, and when we heard it, he said, Angie, that's not Jack. So he starts going down the driveway, and our driveway is, not long, but probably about 2 houses in length. So he ran down the driveway, and I guess he saw them before I saw them. But I came to right about here in front of Miss Marilyn's house, here in the street, and that's when I saw Nation coming here, and Jamie was up here and had started coming down this sidewalk, and they were coming back towards a meeting place. But he was here and she was up here at that house.
And correct me if I'm wrong for purposes, you're pointing to State's Exhibit 16, and you're identifying the first time you see, later to be identified as Nation Hahn. Are you pointing towards the Tillwood side,
Yes,
Tillwood Place? Where exactly Is he in the middle of the street?
Yeah, in the middle of the street.
Okay, and he's coming towards Rainwater,
Towards rainwater from...
the direction of his
Their home.
house.
Yes, sir.
General. And you see, at that time, you see later to be identified as Jamie Hahn. And on State's Exhibit 16, are you not indicating that on the corner house of Tillwood Place and Rainwater, that is, you see Ms. Hahn where exactly at that house?
She was at the door.
Okay.
There's a lot of steps here. And all I could think, well, after I saw her is, I don't know how she went up that many steps.
And is that when you first noticed Jamie Hahn?
When she came down these steps, and like I said, it looked like she was holding something, almost like a puppy, or I mean, you know, something I had in my mind. It had to be a small object because her hands were like this. And then as she got closer, I mean, honestly, she was just covered in blood. I mean, there was blood all down the front of her and all down her pants, everywhere.
Can you tell us how, if you observed her from the steps of the corner house there, you said there are lots of steps there, from the steps of the corner house to, I believe you indicated Ms. Hahn ends up lying down on the walkway right at the Harold's front door?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see how she gets from the steps of the one house over to the Harold's house?
When I had come back, well, when I had come down the driveway to see Nation and Jamie, and she was coming down the steps, I still didn't know what was going on. But then when she got to the bottom of those steps at that corner house, it was clear that something was very wrong. And it was almost like she and Nation went to each other, and then she was just standing on the sidewalk. But Rainwater is a busy, especially at 5 o'clock, it's a busy area for traffic. I mean, it's not, it's like 35 miles per hour. But I was scared that she was going to step out into the road or something. Anyway, at that point, that's when I realized she was bleeding and had run in to get the phone to call 911. And when I came back out, she had already crossed the street, so I don't know how she got across. But that's when she was about to lay on the sidewalk in front of Bill and Julie's.
So when you came back out with the phone to calling
Yes.
911 at that time, she's on the sidewalk of the Heralds.
She was about to lay down.
Oh, okay. And did you see her?
I did.
Okay. Did you head over towards her with the phone?
I did.
Who is, if you could identify the people that are, let's say, converging to help at this point in time as you're now out with the cell phone heading towards the front area of the Herald's house where Jamie is now, Ms. Hahn?
Kenny, my husband, and Julie, Harold. Kenny had gone in and gotten his gun and a towel. I guess at the same time I was going to get the phone. I honestly don't remember exactly all the things that were going on because it was so fast. But Kenny had come out and...
This is your husband?
Yes, my husband, sorry. And he had a towel and had thrown it down. And Julie was down helping Jamie lay down at that point. I mean, she pretty much collapsed, but it was... Obviously, they were trying to help her lay down as easy as she could. And Julie wrapped her in a towel across her belly area and really just held her tight. And Nation was kind of going back and forth in the yard and screaming really loud. And I was trying to hear the 911 operator asking me questions, but couldn't hear. So I was giving her the best that I could of what I was seeing. So it was me, Julie, Kenny, and Bill had come back out. Not sure where he went at this point.
When you got, is it fair to say you would get close to where Ms. Hahn was with Julie Harold holding her?
Yeah.
and then would walk back away while you're trying to answer questions on a 911 call?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And why would you walk back away?
Nation was yelling, and there were a little bit of conversation between the two of them, but I just couldn't hear the operator, and he was yelling.
So, if you would, could you describe, once you get, at the times you get closer to Jamie Hahn, the injuries that you see and anything that she's saying or doing? If you could give us as detail as you can, your observations and what you hear from Ms. Hahn.
She was saying, I love you, and Nation was saying to her, we're going to have a lot more anniversaries, we're going to go back to the beach, and she would say, I love you, and then after a lot of conversation with the operator and going back and forth, and I mean, I did see one big gash on her stomach, just above her stomach area, close to her rib cage. But that's all I heard between the two of them while I was on the phone with the operator.
Did you ever hear Jamie Hahn talk about what she was feeling at the time?
Yeah, towards right when the EMS got there and I was able to hang up with, the police got there, I was able to hang up the phone with the 911 operator because I told her that someone was there to help. I had gone back over and Julie was holding Jamie, and I just wanted to help her know that somebody's there helping her. And just told her to keep breathing, and she just started saying, I can't breathe, and then it was like she just almost a glazed over look.
Did you see EMS arrive?
I did.
Can you tell us about if they treat her there in front of the Heralds, or how soon Ms. Hahn was taken away?
They took her pretty quickly. When they got there, the police just wanted us to get back, and EMS pretty much got her and took her quickly. And then I think there was another EMS about to leave behind them, but I had noticed during all this going on that Nation's hand was cut and he had blood on his shirt. I don't even think he really realized it at that point. I'm not sure, but I just asked the other EMS before they left, can you just take a look at Nation's hand? Because I think he's hurt.
Do you recall, once the police started arriving and at least one other EMS arrived, did you ever see or go towards the Hahn residence or see any, or were you aware anything was going on as far as police response over there or an EMS response?
I didn't see any EMS go over there. I know when the police came, there were a lot of them, and it was like guns drawn going towards the house. But no, I didn't see any EMS.
Did you ever see the defendant, Jonathan Broyhill, that afternoon?
No.
Do you know him?
No.
May I approach the witness, Sean?
Yes, sir.
show you what's marked as States Exhibit 18, 19, 20, and 21. Can you take a look at these four photos, please? Do you recognize what's depicted in these four photos, States Exhibit 18, 19, 20, and 21?
Yes, sir.
Just generally, what are those four photos showing?
Our neighborhood.
Okay. Are these some of the houses and streets you've been mentioned in your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do these four photos fairly and accurately depict the scene outside of the various houses that day in your neighborhood on April 22nd, 2013?
Yes, sir.
And would these help you further illustrate your testimony?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, the state would move into evidence States Exhibit 18, 19, 20, and 21 for illustrative purposes.
Any objection?
No objection.
They're allowed for illustrative purposes.
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, if the state would be allowed to publish in sequential order these States 18, 19, 20, and 21.
Yes, sir. Are you using the overhead or the screen?
We'll stick with the
Yes, sir.
TV, thank you. Let's pull up States Exhibit 18 first. All right, is this States Exhibit 18, Ms. Kay?
Yes, sir.
Can you describe for the jury the perspective of what we're looking at and the relevant, if these things are depicted in this photo?
Okay. I'll stand.
Yes, ma'am.
So I don't interrupt her testimony. If I need to reposition, may I just do that?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
This is the front of my home. So this would have been where Nation was coming from. This is Bill and Julie's sidewalk here, going down to their front door. And this is Tilbriar. This is rainwater going across. So this is my driveway where we ran down. And I was about here when I first actually saw what was going on.
Thank you. Let's look at States Exhibit 19, please. What are we looking at, please?
This is Bill and Julie's front steps, and this is where Jamie had laid down, and we propped our feet on these bags of leaves.
Okay. We'll come back to
Sorry.
that. Let's go to States Exhibit 20, please. What is the perspective we're looking at here on States Exhibit 20?
This is where Jamie would have been laying at this area. This is the Tilbriar Street, and this is where I was walking back and forth. I was up here talking to the 911 operator and then walking back down.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is this if you're like standing on the front, the porch of the Harold, Bill and Julie Harrell's house, you're looking down their walkway towards Tilbriar, and your house is the second on the right there?
Yes, sir. This is my house over behind this tree.
Okay. Thank you. And States Exhibit 21. If you could, please tell us what the vantage point here is in States Exhibit 21.
This is Jamie and Nation's driveway. There's a home here on the corner on this side of the street. This is rainwater. This is Tillwood. This is Tilbriar. There's the front of my home and the front of Bill and Julie's home.
Let's go back and put States Exhibit 20 up, please. And then than States 19. We'll stay on States 19. You mentioned these bags of leaves. Tell us a little bit more about the bags of leaves, how they were involved in this.
I don't remember if they were in Bill or Karen, our next door neighbor's house. She wasn't home, but we had picked them up to try to elevate Jamie's feet to slow down the bleeding while Julie had her wrapped up in the towel.
Do you know, Ms. Harrell, about any type of medical training she has? Nursing training?
After the fact, I found out that she was a nurse.
Okay. You mentioned your husband went and got a firearm.
Mm.
And did anyone else?
Bill also went to get his firearm.
Bill Harrell?
Mm-hmm. Bill Harrell.
They both had. And do you know why did either person, if you know, or your husband, why did they get firearms?
We still weren't sure what was going on. We didn't know how she had been stabbed, who had stabbed her, where they came from.
Tell me about, you've talked about the observations of Nation Hahn having blood and being injured. While you're on the phone with 911, you've had an opportunity to listen to that call before today, have you not?
I have.
Okay. On that call, do you hear a male voice? There's some screaming in the background. In fact, maybe answering a question of yours.
Yes.
Whose voice is that?
Nation.
While you were calling 911, perceiving these events, and then calling 911, you've described to us what Ms. Hahn is saying. Can you tell us the things you're hearing, if any, of what Nation Hahn is saying to Jamie?
Nation was saying that they were going to have a lot more anniversaries together and that she was going to be okay, and he loved her. And she was responding, "I love you," several times.
Did you see EMS treat Nation Hahn?
I did.
Okay. He was not allowed to go in the ambulance with his wife.
I don't know if it was allowed or if he didn't. I don't know that part.
Matt Prince, witness room?
Yes.
Let me show you what's marked as States Exhibit 17. Do you recognize what States Exhibit 17 is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, what is States Exhibit 17 and how do you recognize that?
That's the recording of the 911 call that you allowed me to listen to prior, and I signed it.
You signed it. You've listened to States Exhibit 17 before?
Yes, sir.
Right. And is that the 911 call that you made on April 22nd, 2013,
Yes, sir.
5:19 p.m.? Does that particular States Exhibit 17, the recording of that conversation, does that accurately relate the conversation you had with the 911 dispatcher that day?
Yes, sir.
All right, to the best of your knowledge, have any additions or deletions or changes been made to that recording?
No, sir.
If we could put States Exhibit 16 back up the diagram. State's Exhibit 16, I'll leave you this marker here.
Okay.
If you could you mark where you first saw, maybe use a J for Jamie and an N for Nation, where you first saw Jamie and then where you first saw Nation as you're coming down your driveway and perceiving these events. With the marker on State's Exhibit 16, if you could.
Okay.
Hopefully that red one will mark fine.
Me?
Yes. Okay. So we got J, N, and A for
And
Okay. And can you give us a direction of travel maybe for Mr. Hahn on the exhibit as you mark it, maybe an arrow where he's headed?
He's coming this way.
From? Okay. And when you see Ms. Hahn on the, and that neighbor's house, do you know the neighbor's name? The house on the corner?
Here, I actually don't.
Okay. When you see Ms. Hahn on those steps, where is she headed towards?
She was beating on the door, but she eventually came down these steps, and this is a sidewalk here.
Okay. Finally, thank you, Ms. Kate. On State's Exhibit 16, that corner house, did you ever see either Jamie Hahn or Nation Hahn at the side door of the house on the corner beside the Hahn's house? There's a side door there designated on the diagram. Did you ever see either person at that door?
I can't remember if Jamie or Nation or who was at the side door, but at some point there was someone going to the side door. I just don't remember if it was Jamie or Nation.
And once the police responded, you had conversations with uniformed police officers, detectives, about what you observed, about making the 911 call.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ms. Cave. I have no more questions.
Mr. Arbor?
Good afternoon, Ms. Cade. My name is Joseph Arbor. I'm an attorney. I'm going to ask you some questions about your testimony, okay?
Okay.
I'll come back to this at the end, but you can help the jury understand. This is a very residential neighborhood. Would that be a fair way to describe it?
Yes.
Upper middle class, nice homes, well maintained.
Yes.
Good place to raise kids. Go down the road and there's like I think a country club or a golf course not far from where you are, right?
Yes.
So fair to say that this event on this particular day was completely out of the ordinary and not typical of any type of activity that would be something you or any of the other neighbors would be used to seeing where you live.
That's correct.
Is that fair? In fact, this is anything but that. Would that be fair?
It was awful.
And I'll ask you, prior to that day, had you ever experienced or had an occasion to see people or see anything similar to this event?
No.
So this, to you personally, was this is way out of the ordinary for you as well.
Definitely.
Including you mentioned some testimony, you saw some bad injuries that you described on Ms. Hahn. You saw Mr. Hahn bleeding. I mean, had you seen anything like that before in your life?
No, sir.
All right, so this is all completely new to you.
Correct.
Now, as you said, there came a point after this all happened, okay, where the police started arriving, after you got on the phone and called 911, different type of official government vehicles started arriving on the scene. Would that be correct?
Yes, sir.
Ambulances, police cars, multiple police cars, right?
Yes, sir.
Multiple ambulances too, correct? So all of a sudden there was a whole lot of activity going on.
Yes.
I'm trying to just, I don't want to recreate a bad scene for you because you didn't see anything like this before, but I'm just trying to get clear what you saw first and what you saw afterwards, because I remember you saying you were outside of your home, and I think you said something about you were going or getting ready to go pick up one of your kids from soccer practice. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can I approach the witness for the screen you're on?
Yes.
All right. With the schematic that's up of State's Exhibit 16 of the drawing, and I'm going to come back to this later time. This is Rainwater Drive, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, for the purposes of this schematic, it sort of makes the streets look identical, and we don't have any objection that this isn't to scale and everything. But actually, Rainwater is a wider street, correct?
Yes, it is.
Because it's a busier street. You talked about that, and I'm going to come back to that. Tealwood is a sort of like a off-spur cul-de-sac type street that comes off of Rainwater, right?
That's right.
And so it doesn't go much far. This is where the Hahns live. They were like they're looking at this house on the corner. We don't have a direction. I can't refer to. I think, and you correct me if I'm wrong. I think you would live on the south side of Tealbriar, and I think the Harrells live on the north side of Tealbriar. Is that correct?
Right.
So I'm going to use the Harrells and the Hahn's house is north.
Okay.
And your house as south, and I'm going to use your side as would be then the western side of Rainwater, and the Hahn's on the eastern side of Rainwater, okay? So you live, would be the southwest side.
Yes, sir.
One house in from the corner of Tealbriar and Rainwater.
That's correct.
The house on the corner here, actually, that's your neighbor.
It is.
That house, I believe, faces Tealbriar, correct?
Yes.
And the Harrell's house on the northwest corner of Rainwater and Tealbriar, that also faces Tealbriar, correct?
That's correct.
Pretty sure with the Harrells, not so sure with your neighbor's house. The driveways are in the back of the house.
That's correct.
Coming off of Rainwater, right? So there's a driveway here and a driveway there. So their house is not in, they don't have driveways facing Tealbriar.
Right.
Yours does. So yours would be on the eastern side of your house.
Yes.
So as you're standing next to the neighbor, you're in, and you tell us you're in the driveway, you're actually right in between your house and this house that's right on the corner.
That's correct.
And again, these aren't to scale. When you say, you had to go up the driveway some, you don't have to go very far from your driveway. Do you have a garage there?
No.
There's no garage with this particular house. But you don't have to go very far up the driveway. I mean, if you use the courtroom, say, as an example, from where you're seated, not much farther than, say, where Mr. Fawcett is seated, before you, and maybe not even that far before you could start seeing to the corner.
Right.
Yeah, it's just a matter of a few steps, right?
Right.
It's not like one of these houses where you got to go a long driveway to see something. So when your husband heard the you were on a honestly can't remember. When you heard the yelling, did you hear it at the same time? I mean, you can't speak to when your husband heard something, but from your recollection, was it about the same time you both heard the yelling? Or
Well, I looked at him and said, "What is he doing?" Thinking it was my son,
okay,
just joking around in the house. And then he was like, he kind of lowered his ear to listen. He was like, "That's not Angie. I
Okay,
mean, that's
so
not Jack's Angie."
That was an indication that he heard it too.
Right.
Okay. And he went up and looked first,
Yes.
right? You correct me anytime I'm wrong about
Okay.
your testimony. My recollection is there was some point where you went into the house to get a phone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming that's after you saw somebody with blood,
Correct.
right? Because there'd be no reason to do it before that.
That's right.
So that's what I'm trying to get straight where you were. When you hear the screaming or the sound that you're not sure whether it's one of the kids fooling around, your husband goes up the driveway first.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had your car was parked toward the backside of the driveway, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And as you said, you guys are getting ready to leave
Mm-hmm.
to go pick up the kids, one of the kids. So you went up first as well before you saw anything that was alarming.
That's correct.
All right. When you went up the driveway, is that when you first saw Jamie?
I saw them, but I didn't see what was going on. So
You saw both of them?
Yeah, I saw him coming up Tillwood and her at the top of those steps.
Okay.
And then go ahead.
No, go ahead. That's all right.
Then when I saw them, I went down my driveway all the way out into Tilbriar and started walking down the middle of the street because I had not locked eyes with Nation or anything, but just I was focused on him. And then I realized there's somebody up there beating on the door. And that's when she started coming back down the steps. And that's when I noticed that it was...
That's when you saw blood?
Yes.
When she started coming down the steps?
Right. Coming closer.
So...
I took off running.
Where was your husband? Do you remember?
Yeah, he was about here, telling Jamie to come here. You guys come here. We'll help you.
Was this after she came down the stairs, or as she was coming down the stairs?
As she was coming down the stairs.
Okay. So, I get a little bit of the description of the street. This street, Tealwood cul-de-sac, and quiet, and sort of a very thin two-lane road. Two cars could fit. If somebody parks, you got to do a little bit of moving around to get around it, right?
Right.
Sort of the same thing on the other side where Tealbriar is, right? I think, though, if you go down your street, you heading west on your street, you can get to another connecting street.
It's a horseshoe. It goes all the way around, but yes, sir.
Gotcha. It has an outlet somewhere else. When you heard the screaming, Ken, your husband, went out first. You followed. Sounds like then he must have crossed the street. And we're talking, what, seconds afterwards that you're following him?
Yeah.
Okay. That's when you see Jamie Hahn facing the door of the house on the corner, would be the northeast corner, which actually fronts rainwater.
Right.
Right. So their front door is on rainwater. Now there is a side door here that goes to that house on the northeast corner of rainwater, correct?
There is.
Right. Now, and you correct me if I'm wrong, I thought at some point, did you see Nation going to that door?
I can't remember if he was at the door whenever I first saw him, or if he had gone to the door and back out to the street because he saw us. It was just a matter of seconds.
Right. When you say a door, you're referring to the side door,
Right?
Not the one where Jamie's at.
No.
And because you're familiar with the layout of this thing, the Hahn's house at 1705 Tealwood was the house one house in on the northeast corner of that intersection. Like your house, no garage.
Right.
Driveway goes down, maybe a little longer driveway between the houses, not by much. Or it's similar.
Yeah.
I don't know if I don't think it's as wide as your driveway, correct?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. A person standing at this side door would not know that there's someone at the front door at this house on the corner of on the northeast corner of Rainwood and Tealwood, right? You wouldn't be able to see them. If you're just standing at the door.
Not that I know of.
Because I think you said there's a number of steps that leads up to this, right?
Right.
The rainwater sort of goes downhill from this point. One of those houses that we have around here that are built on hills, and so the street starts to drop. I mean, not drastically, but it starts to drop pretty good right as you get past your intersection, correct?
That's right.
All right. Which causes the long staircase up to the front door of this house. When you say a lot of steps, I'm not holding you to it, but I mean your best estimate. More than 10 or 12 for sure, right?
Yeah, and honestly, I don't go and look at their steps.
Sure.
They're a little longer than normal steps, and yeah, there's probably 10 to 12.
It's
because some of it climbs up the front yard, and then some of it goes up to the house.
Yeah, there's more elevation to climb before you even get to the staircase, right? So when you're seeing Jamie for the first time, she's got her back to you, basically facing that door. She's apparently climbed those steps and climbed whatever elevation is below it to get to that front door, correct?
Yes.
When you're seeing her, are you also seeing Nation at the same time?
Yeah.
But they're not connected.
That's right.
Right, because they can't see each other. Your husband has positioned himself closer to the northwest corner now of the intersection, correct? So he and you are now at a vantage point that you can see both of the individuals, right?
That's right.
Jamie turns around and comes down the stairs, and that's when you see blood.
Yes.
And is that around the time that your husband starts to yell for Nation to come toward him?
Yeah, he was telling both of them, "Come here, and we'll help you. We'll help you."
Did from what you could see, now did you turn around immediately at that point to go into the house to get the phone?
Not immediately. When she got down to the sidewalk, and I could see better, because again, still no clue what's going on. When she got down the steps, and I noticed she was.
Just for clarity, when you say the steps, you mean the steps of this house in the northeast corner?
That's correct.
Okay.
And she was sluggish. She was still standing up, sluggish, and holding her hands like this. And she came down to the sidewalk and started almost. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. I just, for the record, we have to. The words they see it and I see it, but
right.
It doesn't show up on a thing.
Going south.
No. What I meant when you put your hands out, you just held your hands out in front of you. That's when you said earlier, like looked like she was holding something.
Cupped up towards her chest.
Okay,
yes, sorry.
Go ahead.
And she had come down the steps and maybe headed like 2 steps south on the rainwater sidewalk, and Kenny was telling them to come across.
Did you see them, Nation and Jamie Hahn, reunited at any point there, or was there some sort of disconnect?
There's a disconnect because whenever she came those 2 steps closer, I ran as fast as I could to get the phone.
Okay, so then that's when you lose view of things.
Right.
Right. Then you go into the house to get a phone.
That's correct.
Did you have a cell phone on? I don't know if you had a cell phone on you at the time.
I didn't.
Okay. So you went in to go get your house phone. Mm-hmm. But you mentioned when you were talking to, well, was it a house phone or was it a cell phone?
It was my house phone.
Okay. And you could pick up a signal from your wireless phone, I assume.
Yeah.
You could pick up a signal outside from your house phone as you were talking to the 911 people because you were talking about the description of things.
Correct.
Okay. When you come out then, that's when is Jamie Hahn already now in front of the Herald's house?
She is.
Okay. So whatever happened from the time that she turned around and came down the stairs and you saw the blood to the time that she was in front of the Heralds, that part you can't talk about because you
Right.
didn't see it because you were getting the phone.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
When now when you did come out, Nation was already nearby to where Jamie Hahn was?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And as I said, you had a ton of police presence afterwards, and people were, because you were like one of the first people seeing all this, people are getting your statements and asking you stuff, right?
That's correct.
Okay. You recall telling any of the officers as Nation was running around, because I think that's what you said, he was running around sort of frantic, and I think the word you used was like chaos, I think was the word you used. And if I say a wrong word, you correct it, okay?
Okay.
All right, but is that about right?
Yeah. He would kneel down beside her, and then he'd stand up and run his hands through his hair, or hand through his hair, and then walk over like just a couple of steps away and then back. But all this, again, is from my vantage point, walking up and down the sidewalk.
He was distraught.
Definitely.
And you recall telling the police officers, hearing him yelling out, "Our best friend did this."
Yes. Well, he didn't yell out. When I was on the phone with the 911 operator, she said, can you give a description of the suspect? And that's whenever
So were you trying to ask Nation then?
I addressed him. I said, sir, because I don't know who he is.
You didn't know Nation at that point.
Right.
Right.
And gathered the fact that they were married from him saying, we'll have many more anniversaries. Because, again, I don't know them at all. But he stood up and he said, John Broyhill, and he's my best friend. And then the 911 operator asked me where the suspect was, and I asked Nation, where is he? And he said, my house. And then I think I asked him for his address.
All right, because you didn't know where they lived.
Exactly.
At that point. For all you knew, these were people that could have gotten out of a car. I mean,
right.
These weren't, because you mentioned when you were talking about the Heralds, you mentioned them as Bill and Julie. I sort of took from that, you know them.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned, I don't recall the name, it's not important. You mentioned, I think, the name of the person right next door to you on the house on the corner. You know her as well.
I do.
Didn't know the people in the house that had the long steps.
That's right.
So, yeah, you didn't know where this thing was coming from. You had no idea where this thing started at, right? You just all of a sudden knew you had two people, and they were, to you, strangers.
That's right.
Had you ever seen them? I mean, sometimes you know how like you have neighbors and you don't know their names, but you know what they look like, and you're like, yeah, that's my neighbor, but I don't know who they are.
I've never seen them.
Okay, so prior to that day, you didn't even recognize it was someone that lived across the street.
At all.
Okay. One of the officers that one of the husbands had to tell Nation to calm down.
Yeah.
What I'm asking it because I know you've given testimony about your husband, Ken, and then there was Bill Harrell.
That's right.
Were there any others?
There was a cyclist that was riding by on Rainwater. Sad, I don't remember what gender, what they looked like at all. I just remember them.
They stopped.
I'm sorry?
They stopped?
Yeah, they stopped and came over.
Did any of the other neighbors that you knew, or even the ones you didn't know but sort of recognized, did you see any other neighbors come out to this thing?
No, sir.
Okay. Your Honor, we're not going to offer it in evidence, but just for illustrative purposes, and I don't think Mr. Foster has an objection. I wanted to just pull up a Google map image of the corner, and I don't think Mr. Foster has a objection to that. Is that correct?
State doesn't. You were going to be able to maybe make a record of it and mark it as a possible exhibit.
Yeah, we can print the screen. Yeah.
Yes, sir. If you would just.
Yes. Just give me. State. I'm going to show you what a marked is. Defendants. May I approach you with this? Right?
Yes, sir.
Exhibit 4 for identification. This is just a Google map image to give us some the neighborhood that where you live and what we're talking about.
Yes, sir.
We're not offering for evidence, so if I can put that up on the screen without objection, just for the purpose of these next questions you're having. No objection.
State has no objection to the publication of it.
All right, showing you this. This is basically a. Here, let me give you Defense Exhibit 4. I'll just come up here. So they're seeing this. Tealwood Place, 1705 Tealwood. That's where the Hahn's house is, correct?
Correct.
Maybe it's easier if I step over here. So their house is this one. This is the short street that comes to the cul-de-sac that you testified about, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Then your house is this second one over here on this corner. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Now, again, this is the loop you're talking about, where Teal goes around and comes back into rainwater, right?
Right.
All right. Now, I want to talk about rainwater a little bit. This is, and you testified about this. Let me show you what we've also marked as. Coach Wood,
Yes, sir.
Defendant's Exhibit 5 is a panout of the same map.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that the green shaded area on that map, sort of to the north and slightly west of the area where we're talking about, that's that country club, that's that golf course we're talking about, right?
Directly over on the left?
Yeah, on
Yes.
the left, on the green shaded areas.
That's correct.
I don't even know what that is on the right hand side. That green
That's
shaded
Millbrook
area.
Exchange Park.
What is it?
Millbrook Exchange Park?
There's a big park near there. Okay. But rainwater. Rainwater is a connecting street between Spring Forest Road and the next, it continues on past it, but the next major thoroughfare going through is that Hunting Ridge Road.
Yes, sir.
Is that correct? And coming off of Rainwater, there's a number of spur streets like yours that lead to like where all the homes are in this area, correct?
Correct.
All right. So Rainwater is a connecting street between two other major thoroughfares in this area, right?
That's correct.
It is a street that, if you're going home and you live in any of these developments, anywhere near this golf course, or even like where you live, you got to go up Rainwater off of Spring Forest or off of Hunting Ridge to get into your home, correct?
There's several different ways, but yes, there's
That's the main
that is
one.
a way, yeah.
This event that you've testified about seeing today happened at around 5:20 in the afternoon,
Thereabouts.
to the best of your recollection. And you mentioned this in your direct testimony when Mr. Foster was asking about it. That's a busy time on Rainwater Road, isn't it?
It is.
Because everybody's coming home from work at around 5:20 in the afternoon, right?
Yes, sir.
You had just gotten home, correct?
Actually, I'm normally not there at that time, but I had an appointment that day that brought me home.
Oh, the bank stays open later, right?
It does.
Yeah, so you don't get home at that point.
Right.
But you have been there around 5:20, or after 5 o'clock on other days, other business days, right?
Before, yes.
Yeah.
In the years that I had lived there before that. Yes, sir.
Have you been living there for a while?
Since 2008.
Okay, so what?
5 years.
7 years now.
7
right?
years now.
That road at 5:20, Rainwater.
Mm-hmm.
That's a busy street at that time. It's not the same. I mean, it's busy during the day, but it's busier like in the morning when people are going to work and around this time of the evening when people are coming home from work. Would that be fair?
Correct.
All right, so this is not the streets that the Hahns lived on, Tealwood, the street you lived on, Tealbriar. They're quiet streets, but both of these homes are only a couple of houses off from Rainwater, right?
That's correct.
Rainwater is not a quiet street. It's not Capitol Boulevard, but it's not a quiet street. It has a lot of traffic, correct?
Somewhat, yes. I
And
mean, I wouldn't consider it like Spring Forest or Falls of the Neuse, but yes, it does have more traffic than Tilbriar or Tilwood would.
Yeah, it's got traffic going on through the day because the people going in and out of these developments are using that to connect to those other two main thoroughfares.
Correct.
Not as busy as those main thoroughfares, but busy enough. But particularly busy at this time of the day, like at 5:20 in the afternoon. That's a busy time for that road, right?
Correct.
Ms. Cape, just give me a minute. I'd like to. Very much. I have no other questions. And
Mr. Fawcett, redirects her.
None at this time, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may step down. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll break for lunch and we'll recess until 2:15. If you'll recall the instructions, don't talk among yourselves or with anyone else about the case. Don't form or express opinions about the outcome. No media or independent investigation regarding these matters. Please have no conversations or communications with parties, witnesses, or lawyers. Gather in the deliberation room at 2:15. Leave your notepads in your chairs. We're going to ask the bailiff to take up the other items that you have there, so they won't be there when you return. Just leave them in your chair, and we'll see you at 2:15. Everyone else, please remain seated. Outside the presence of the jury, are there any matters that we need to take up before we recess?
Not from the state, Your Honor.
No.
All right, we'll be in recess till 2:15.